This is Passion for Your Passions, a podcast where we can express who we are, describe what plagues our minds, and feel our feelings. I'm Julie.
And I'm Krista. And today, we're all about the drama. We're all about the theater.
The theater!
Zydrate comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial? A little glass vial.
And the little glass vial goes into the gun like a battery. And the Zydrate gun goes somewhere against your anatomy. And when the gun goes off, it sparks and you're ready for surgery.
Okay, so my friend sent me this thing and I've been needing to share it with everybody. I don't know how many people in the world have seen this, but for anybody out there who wants to just read something really funny, there is this thing. So Ayn Rand, she made Atlas Shrugged, right? So there's this guy, I guess, who he goes around and he takes books and then combines it with her style of stuff. And so, like, the big thing about it, like, her thing is kind of like capitalism, but it's like capitalism in this way that just really, it cracks me up, like, a lot. So this guy who he does this thing where he combines stuff with Ayn Rand, he made Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Objectivism, and there's a few parts in this that are just, they're just so key. So I'm not going to do all of it because, you know, people should just go read this. It's so funny. But, okay, so, like, here's one. So the first part is just, like, Harry meeting Hagrid, right? So it's like, "You're a wizard, Harry," Hagrid said, "and you're coming to Hogwarts." "What's Hogwarts?" Harry asked. "It's a wizard school." "It's not a public school, is it?" "No, it's privately run." "Good. Then I accept. Children are not the property of the state. Everyone who wishes to do so has the right to offer educational goods or services at a fair market rate. Let us leave at once."
That's great.
And, oh gosh, it's just like all this stuff where, it's so funny. Like, just even like the writing style of it just really cracks me up. So, like, okay, so this other part of it. Harry and Ron stood before the mirror of Erised. "My God," Ron said. "Harry, it's your dead parents." Harry's eyes flicked momentarily over to the mirror. "So it is. This information is neither useful nor productive. Let us leave at once to assist Hagrid in his noble enterprise of raising as many dragon eggs as he sees fit, in spite of our country's unjust dragon trading restrictions." "But it's your parents, Harry," Ron said. Ron never really got it. Harry sighed. "The fundamental standard for all relationships is the trader principle, Ron." "I don't understand," Ron said. "Of course you don't," said Harry affectionately. "This principle holds that we should interact with people on the basis of the values we can trade with them. Values of all sorts, including common interests in arts, sports, music, or other similar philosophical outlooks, political beliefs, and sense of life, and more. Dead people have no value according to the trader principle. But they gave birth to you." "I made myself, Ron," Harry said firmly. And it's just so much of this. There's, like, so many things in here where it's like the way that, like, it's written. I'm just like, I want this to be a whole book. I
need it in my life.
Harry just randomly explaining to people the value of capitalism
The
and
trade principle with
yeah,
value of relationship.
and so much of it is like in this way where it's like, people don't talk like this. Okay, whatever. Like, you can have this thought and feeling. I mean, whatever. It's not really a thought or feeling I have, but, like, it's so just, like, blunt and, like, it's beautiful. My thing is that if people want to read this, I highly recommend it. It's like on the toast, and it's Ayn Rand's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Go check it out.
Nice. I dig it.
All right, so cool. So, you know, we kind of I guess I got a little bit theatrical there.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. You know, pretending to be Harry and Hagrid and Ron. And I mean, I didn't change my voice.
Of course you don't. Yeah, so we made a lot of references to theater and how we were part of theater, or We even had stories about my horrific accident and the director that hated me. So we felt it was time to finally actually sit and talk about theater.
Yeah, and it's a good time because it's fall, and fall always makes me feel kind of schooly. And so I think about that kind of stuff.
That's a word, I'm sure.
Well, it's like, I don't know what it is. It's like once the leaves fall, I'm like, oh my gosh, school. Even though I haven't gone to school in like 10 years.
Dating us again.
A very long time.
Yes.
I mean, I could go back to school if I wanted to, but yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And I still get this, like, I could buy notebooks and, like, organize my life and, like, I could, like, be that person. And I'm like, you weren't even that person when you were in school. Like, what do you
What are you trying to tell yourself right now?
Yeah.
But I wanted to highlight that Chris and I wouldn't say we're part of the theater scene anymore. We really haven't been since we were in school, minus seeing plays here and there and enjoying movies. So I guess kind of take what we're saying with a bit of ignorance, or
I would say we're kind of like medium enthusiasts. I definitely know people who are way more enthusiastic than me, and I know people who are way less. I like it. I wouldn't say that I'm the kind of person where I like every play or every musical or even some of the big popular ones that people like. I wouldn't say I feel very strongly about.
Chicago.
You don't. I like Chicago, but
I thought you didn't like it.
No. I mean, I guess it's not like my favorite, but I know you don't like it. It's fine. Again, differences. I wouldn't say I like all the famous ones. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess I went to go see Wicked, and I thought that was fine. It wasn't like, I know there was like a bunch of people who were like, whoa, that's like the shit. And I was like,
That's okay.
I felt fine about it. And I think, like, honestly, part of the thing is, so, like, one of the things, I mean, this is weird about anything, is if you watch it, like, when it's not in time, it doesn't feel the same. So the one that I always use as an example for this is The Office. Like, I don't feel like I enjoy The Office as much because it's 2020s now. What, The Office came back early 2000s. There's a lot of things that honestly just don't land to me. I like Dwight, but like some of the other stuff, I think I missed out. Same, I think, is kind of true of Wicked. I think Wicked had a time and a place, but honestly, when I go watch Wicked now, I just, like, the music's okay. There's a couple songs in it I do really like, but other than that, it doesn't really do that much for me.
That's also one I feel like the original cast was the only cast that did it right.
Yeah.
Anytime I see it without the originals or hear it, it's kind of, it does not land. You're just sitting there like,
Yeah.
You do not have the impact that those singers did, and I just can't appreciate any version of this that isn't the number one iconic version.
I think a lot of people feel that way about Hamilton. But anyway, going back to the topic, I do kind of want, like, before we get into just, like, our feelings about certain musicals and things, just kind of talk about, like, our background a little bit, and I'll kind of start with mine, because Julie kind of mentioned she wasn't as into it as I was, although she did a couple things here and there. I kind of mainly did it more because it was, like, from age 10 to 18, I had a few friends who were very into it. Like, that was their life and everything, and I needed a hobby, and, you know, I mean, theater is really big on just getting people to do it. Because, I mean, to be honest, you can't really do a musical unless you have, I would say, about 30 people. Like, if you have under 30 people, it's gonna be pretty hard for you to do a musical. And especially the lower that number gets, the harder that it is. So yeah, you would get a lot of people just being like, yeah, we're recruiting you. Whether you like it or not, we're dragging you tooth and nail into this play.
It's a very extroverted hobby.
Microphone in your hand.
Clothes off, new ones on stage now.
Yeah, and actually, even the thing that was very funny about this, even I think my mom talks about this a few times, it was very weird that I did that, because like Julie said, pretty extroverted of a hobby. I don't know how much this comes across in the podcast. I'm pretty introverted. Pretty bad. She mentioned to me recently that she was like, I never really understood why Krista did theater. And it was weird. Even when I would do it, I had kind of this like imposter syndrome about it. Like I liked it. I do enjoy being kind of in the spotlight and, you know, you tell a joke and people laugh and, you know, it's fun. But at the same time, like I didn't really like some of the other stuff that people like about theater, which is like the drama, the like intense fame, you know, that kind of stuff. There were a few people even when we were in theater who weren't like that. Like they were like, yeah, I want I want the whole attention, the whole fame type of thing.
Well, what's even funnier about this is I only did theater because you did theater. So it's like this chain effect of there's only one person who ever wants to do theater and everyone else is just like is preyed upon by them. And it's the funniest thing. And theater people, true theater people, which I wouldn't call us true theater people by nature, make you uncomfortable. They are not, they are extroverts unapologetically, and they're weird. So it's just this weird place for them, because most weird people tend to be introverted, and that's why they're weird. These people, they decide to be weird and extroverted, and you don't know how to handle them, and they don't know how to handle themselves, so then they pretend to be different people all the time.
Yeah. They're also very weirdly horny.
Horny, they like drinking, usually, or they're touchy-feely. That was the really funny thing, which I think Luke even brought it up when we told our story. The three of us were the three people who did not want to be touched. Like people would come up to us and we were like, what are you doing? Like, don't touch me. I'm not one of you. It was just one of those things that kind of cracked me up that everybody else, they'd be in a group hug on a mattress or something at a party, and we'd be off like outside away from them. Or they would have cast parties and I would be with the parents. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with those weirdos. Like, I'm gonna be over here.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And there were so many things about that at our school. I mean, I think it was a little bit better in our grade and some of the grades around us. But some of the stories about the grades like above us, like it'd be like, oh yeah, like there was totally this stuff that we had hidden away. We would have like people would go up there and have sex, and like it was like, I mean, there was no rules, were there? I mean, well, okay, and then also our one theater director did also get like arrested, fired. I'm not sure, for smoking weed or something. So like, look, shit goes down in theater. Like, I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but it's definitely true. I mean, like I said, I don't think as much went down for our grade particularly. I'm trying to think if there even was any drama, and I don't particularly remember anything.
Yeah, I think it was literally the senior class, our 8th grade year, was the last of the bad batch for those kinds of things. And then when we came in, it was like our seniors were the responsible ones. I definitely remember the seniors we had were the responsible people. And then after that, I kind of piecemealed, where there were a few people that you could tell wanted it to be a particular way, but the rest of us weren't about it, and they, you know, couldn't do it themselves, more or less. I think we had a couple drunks. And by drunks, I mean to a teenage standard where they've had alcohol and they'll bring it and get in trouble for it, not, you know, belligerent all the time.
Well, we also, too, had a couple, like, fame monger people. Like, people who were just super, like, they wanted things a very particular way, and they were, like, the bad kind of attention seeking. Like, being like, oh, yeah, you know, like, I want my outfit to be a particular way, like, make it be this particular way, or, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this like this, and I'm not gonna accept it any other way, you know? The bad fame mongers.
Oh, that was fun when I was the student director.
You know, I got put into, like, a couple situations that were just very... very bad for me, because I don't like that kind of stuff. And so it was just one of these things where it's like, you're in this group with these people because that's, you know, whatever the role that you're in or whatever it was. And it was just like, I hate my life.
I hate you. I hate everything.
Don't make me do this.
Yeah. So as you can tell, our backgrounds more when we were teenagers, I would say, than anything. So it's on a very small scale. We never did the community theater or anything like that. It was purely, we're in school, someone made us do this, and then we stuck with it. I say I wasn't in the plays after middle school. I did the pit orchestra, so I did the music and I did like behind the stage stuff. Krista was the one who was always on stage.
Yeah, I did a lot. Like, I performed, like I said, at 10 to 18. I probably, from that time, when I was younger, I probably did like one musical a year, but then further on, it started being more. And then I did eventually start doing plays pretty frequently towards the end of it. I don't know if there's really like anything super noteworthy that we did. I mean, like, we did like The King and I, we did Beauty and the Beast. We talked about how we did Willy Wonka, and that was awful. We also did Seussical, which
was awful.
Yeah, that was another one that was just a lot. It was fine, but it was just a lot. And
I made a freshman cry, but it's fine.
You did?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did both the Willy Wonka one and that year. We did like set design, and we explicitly said, hey, we have a real wood stage with this big fancy red curtain that nobody else has. Don't fuck it up. And some freshman spilled a can of paint and then didn't say anything, and I just found it. And I could figure out who it was for a mile away because she was terrified of me, and I reamed her in front of her mother and created her cry. I was like, hey, how about you not be totally incompetent and not tell me about it and ruin the stage? Clean it up. You're not helping anymore. Like, I just ripped her apart. And I think she probably quit theater.
I don't even know who you're talking about. It could be possible.
Exactly. She became nobody because of me.
I mean, there were a few people who did stuff and then just kind of never came back, which, I mean, whatever. It's fine. Theater is for some people and it's not for other people. It is a commitment. You have to like actually work at it. And I think like this is honestly a thing that some people don't even really understand. I mean, people probably understand this, but like it was a lot of work, which I think I kind of mentioned when we were talking about Willy Wonka. That part of the reason why I ended up hating Willy Wonka so much is because the way that we did it at our school was you practice. They basically gave us a set amount of time to practice. It was pretty much always the same. I can't remember if it was like 2 months or 3 months, but Willy Wonka is a very short musical. So what that meant is that we were just practicing it incessantly. So by the time it got to the end, I was like, dear God, please, I cannot do this anymore. It's too short. I know it too well. I can't do this anymore. And I think that was definitely, well, I mean, Seussical didn't help, but that was like, I think the musical that broke me. And I was like, man, I could do plays. I like plays. Actually, so it's kind of weird. I like performing plays. I'm not like as big as seeing plays, but I like plays, especially comedy plays, better because it's not as intense as musicals are. Like, musicals are just, they're so intense.
Everything has to be completely right.
Yeah.
Because if you're not right, then nothing's right and everything's a mess. In plays, if you do a goof, it gives the opportunity to create a unique moment that could be better. Like, it's mistakes are more of an opportunity in plays, while mistakes in musicals will burn, like, will make it ruin the entire thing. And so, but no matter what, mistakes happen. Like, you can't, like, one, I think it was Willy Wonka, because I was backstage, the fucking red curtain caught on one of the sets when it was trying to close and started ripping on the opposite side of the theater I was on, and I was the only one who saw it, and I literally had to run and knock someone the fuck out to, like, jump and, like, loose the stupid curtain. Like, does anyone else know that happened? No, just me. And I had to also try to be quiet, like, while I'm trying to, like, oh god, I'm trying to fix the curtain. Yeah. But, like, if that ripped, what would we have done? Like, there's, we don't have a curtain for one half of the goddamn stage. Like, it's just...
Yeah, no. I think one of the funny ones that I remember happening was King and I, which I don't remember if you were involved in King and I or not.
I was a wife.
Oh, okay.
What's up? I got pushed down on the stage.
I know. I was a small child, which was odd. I was a small child but an adult. But anyway, because I was like the narrator, but then I was also a small child. It was...
Well, remember Mom made your outfit.
I know. There's still some pictures I see of me in that, and I'm like...
Yeah, I have a picture with you and my mom, like, because she wanted a picture with, like, the outfit, and she tried to make me one, and I literally grew out of it by the time the play happened.
But anyway, what I was gonna say is, like, so the person who was, I think her name is Anna. Yeah, Anna, the main girl. So she wore like a lot of hoop skirts because that's kind of what Anna does. There's like a bunch of scenes in there where like she does dancing and things, and like it's more dramatic basically if you have the actual hoop skirts. Doesn't look as impressive if you don't. However, she was wearing the hoop skirts, sat down in a chair because I think during her scene she was like reading a book or letter or whatever the heck it was. So it was like she had to sit in this chair and then it like transitioned to a new scene. Sat in the chair in a hoop skirt, could not get out of the chair. They had to literally like, I think they had to like go pick up the chair with her in it and take her off stage like during a blackout to get her out of it.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, these things happen. It's despite your best planning, things do go bad.
The professional, everything, something goes wrong. That doesn't matter.
But I don't know. I think for me, I just like doing plays more because they were just honestly less intense, and I did enjoy doing comedies more than I did enjoy musicals, because like, I mean, musicals, there's all kinds of musicals, but like especially the ones that we did, they were the more generic type of musical. Like it's like, you know, going into a thing, whatever, ends up happy. Like it's just that kind of a flow. It wasn't really anything complicated. It wasn't like a complex story. I mean, maybe the one I liked doing the most was Beauty and the Beast, but like even that's not really...
That was all the costumes. Like the costumes were the difficult and interesting part about that. And also I feel like that was the last year we had decent people. Like after that was all the like class B. Was
well, I mean, honestly, I think that the people that we had after that weren't so bad. I think it was just the choices of the musicals. We could have picked more interesting things.
Well, we just, like, Seussical was after that, I think, and we just, that wasn't our kind of musical. We didn't have weird people. Like, you and I were the only weird people, and we didn't give a shit about the Seussical musical.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But I think part of it, I also think you liked plays more because that director was a lot better to work with.
Oh, yes, that's true. Oh, man, I still see him sometimes, and I'm like, oh, man.
You were the man.
He was great. Yeah, he was awesome. He was a really good teacher, actually, even. He just was a good guy, but yeah.
So I think that might also stem some of your upset. Because I was in plays with you in middle school. Like, we did that pirate one.
Yeah.
I remember that specifically because like I actually had a role in that. I'm like, what? Yeah. I just do this with Krista. I didn't think you'd give me anything. And I had a whole role. I was so confused by it.
Well, no, because you had your one role. Should we talk about your one role?
My power role that everyone has remembered me for and loved me.
The thing that you were perfectly cast as.
Because I'm weird.
And perfectly dressed as.
Yes.
And just, yeah, that has been Julie's whole thing. She peaked and then she never wanted to
never
do musicals
back. Okay. Let's delve into my history. What was Music Man? That was our first audition for a musical was Music Man.
Okay, which, by the way, I have to put this out here.
No fifth graders should do
elementary school.
Why would we do this or understand it?
The Music Man is the wackest shit. I still want to go see it again sometime. I keep like talking to my husband about it. It's the wackest shit.
I love the movie because I love Matthew Broderick, but it's
legitimately, the plot is a con man goes to a place and he cons them with music. That is the plot of the music. It is the wackest shit.
I think we would have had a lot better time if we did Seussical in 5th grade and Music Man our junior year. Just saying. But so, okay, rewind. First audition ever for us is in 5th grade for Music Man. I auditioned because I did. Like, someone probably... Krista and I weren't really friends then. So, like...
Yeah, I don't remember us being friends.
I don't remember why I auditioned.
It probably just because it was the thing.
Probably. So I auditioned, but I personally wasn't happy with how I auditioned. So I decided I just wasn't going to be a part of the musical because I just didn't think I did well enough in my audition. I cut myself from it. And apparently I got a role that I was supposed to, like, do. Like, it had lines and everything. And so halfway through them rehearsing, one of the students from our grade came up to me like, "Are you going to come for this?" And I went, "Oh, no. I didn't even assume I got a part." They went, "Yeah, you have a part with all these lines." And they said I could have it if you don't show up. I'm like, "Yeah, take it." So then go to 6th grade. And it was Cinderella was the musical, and I actually know that one. So then when I auditioned for an evil stepsister because I knew exactly how that should be portrayed. And I did well. I did an audition well enough that I went, I deserve a part. I can be in this musical, okay? And the teacher even came to me like, hey, so you like totally didn't show up for the last one before we give you a role? Are you planning to show up for this one? I'm like, yeah, I actually did well in the audition, so, I'll show up. And they cast me for the fairy godmother, which was the strangest role in this musical because, for anyone who doesn't understand how musicals work, if you're not a main character, you probably have like 5 roles you're supposed to portray. You're a background character, so you'll be like a piece of silverware in one scene and then a servant in another and da-da-da-da. And I was in every scene that let those people get ready. Because everyone else is in that scene. So what would happen is all these scenes with literally everyone in the cast, I wasn't in. So I would just be in the back by myself anytime I wasn't on the stage. And I would just like organize the chairs and clean up because I'm an anxious person. So that was really funny. But no one has let me forget this role because apparently I was the star of the show and like everyone's favorite part. And it's the most ridiculous fucking thing. And I didn't do a musical since. I was like, and we're out. Like, this was it. This is all I got in me. You cast me as the weird one.
It happens every once in a while, though. Like, you get cast in this way, and that's, like, the thing. Like, I know everybody was pretty obsessed when I was, like, Babette for a while. Like, they were like, oh, yeah, you did a really good job with that. And even though the thing was, it's like, I basically copied somebody for that. I mean, I didn't ever tell anybody that, but I did. Like, we had gone to go see something at one point somewhat recently. I just copied what she did, and apparently everybody was like, yeah. And I was like, well, I guess technically I sort of cheated, but...
All of my stuff that everyone loved was an accident, so I don't even... like, the one thing that I still remember to this day... So, of course, they make me look like the weirdest character in the entire thing, because that's kind of the point. I'm magical, whatever. So for, like, Cinderella, she has a solo where she's singing about how lonely and depressed she is. And I hide behind the set, and I come out, like, with smoke and go, I am the answer to everything, pretty much. And how they set it up, they put a bunch of shit, like, right where I had to come out. And this woman, director, made me wear rubber shoes that were 3 times bigger than my feet that I would sweat in and have trouble walking in, covered in fabric. So I was very concerned about tripping and falling from the stage because it was lifted. And they had all this shit, like, around me. And when I thought they were fully distracted with Cinderella, like she's on the opposite side from me, I took my foot and just started moving stuff. And the director literally stopped and went, I love that, and screamed. And I just, like, hid because I thought she was talking about Cinderella. And she went, Julie, like, do that again. I went, what are you talking about? And she loved the shoes. She loved that you could just see this little glimmer of silver, like, from the corner, from me moving shit out of my way from behind a box. Like, she loved it, and I had to do it in the next scene. And, like, that just kept happening, where I would just do stuff like that to help myself because I was having a lot of trouble in this goddamn outfit. And then she would just be like, this is amazing. I'm like, what? What did I do? And then what was it? I had to... for the sequence so they could bring out the stupid the like pumpkin and horses and stuff, they put fog everywhere and I was supposed to spin and do this big dance move, which I to this day don't fully understand. And the first time we like did this, my friend sat in the front row and had disposable cameras and were literally trying to blind me with the flash. And so I got dizzy. And then I like ended up hitting one of them with like my wand or something. And they said, you gotta do that for everyone. I'm like, it was a goddamn accident. Why do you keep doing this to me? I'm not skilled or creative. Like, it's all not my fault.
You're just naturally creative.
I'm naturally the fairy godmother. And I decided to be really snarky. So anytime Cinderella complained, I was just like, would roll my eyes. And they loved every bit of it. So it was my golden role, and I decided to retire after that.
And then I think after that, or, well, maybe it wasn't after that. I think, we had The King and I. Don't remember what we had after that. And then we had Christmas Carol, which you decided not to participate in, and then you gave me your role. And so we talked about this before, and like how, now every time I watch A Christmas Carol, whenever, in any part, because I'm the boy, I was the boy who, after Scrooge comes back from his journey and he like opens up the window and he's like, "What day is it?" And then the boy is like, "It's Christmas, sir."
Yeah, I let you
And
have
that's-
that. I created your career.
That's it. That's the part that I always remember. I mean, to be fair, I had the thing in The King and I, which was before that. That was a bigger part. It just was, I just always remember being the boy. And I also remember, because like you said, a lot of times when you're in like the ensemble, they call it, you end up playing a bunch of different roles. So I was also somebody in one of the party scenes or something. And for some reason, they put me in a dress that looked exactly the same as from, so like the Cinderella Disney movie where she's wearing like the pink dress with the bow and stuff. It looked exactly like that. So it was just always funny to me when I was in that scene, I was wearing this dress and I'm like, I'm in the Cinderella dress.
Cinderella.
Okay.
Yeah.
So enough, I guess, about, you know, our past. We could probably talk about those for way too long. We probably already have.
But I just looked at my, oh.
But what we should talk about is other performances. So things that we haven't been in, things that we've gone to see. You know, what do we like about actually watching a musical? You know, what would we recommend to other people? You know, all this kind of stuff. What do you think about this?
Well, as we've kind of mentioned, there's only ever one person out of 100 that actually genuinely loves theater, and then they bring everyone else in. So if you're listening to this with the honest intention of trying to like theater, you've probably already had someone try to pressure you into it. Personally, when it comes to like movies, I'm kind of focused more towards movies because that's just an easier outlet for people. I almost always watch musicals. It's just, to me, plays are ridiculous. And to have a musical, you know it's ridiculous. Like, that's the point. And that's fine with me. While plays, it's like, are you trying to be dumb? I can't tell. And so I tend to just fluctuate towards musicals. I will say some of them just seem so long. It doesn't matter. Which, one of the recommendations Chris is going to harp on. The first time I watched it, my legs went numb. I just went, why would someone do this? Like, it just took so long. Because they have this really short plot that just gets pulled out. And so musicals to me just seem so long the first time you watch them.
What are we talking about here? Is the Phantom? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that every musical is for everybody. That's kind of the thing about it. One, you do kind of have to like music. Two, you have to kind of buy into it. So, like, I get that some people aren't going to buy into certain stories. Typically, I do recommend Phantom of the Opera, and part of the reason is I just think it makes sense. It's kind of one of those stories where it's like, one, it takes place in an opera. Most of the time, they are practicing for operas. It kind of makes sense that they're singing all the time. And also, it's kind of one of those musicals where there's a lot of different categories of musicals. You could talk about the ones that are more classic-y. So, like, for example, The Music Man is a very classical musical. It's got a pretty simple plot. The music's very, you know, wilting, sounds nice kind of stuff. But it's not really anything all that complicated. I mean, it's like kind of the kind of movie you'd see in the 60s. That's pretty much what it's like. Phantom of the Opera was kind of like more of a new age musical, and you hear it. Like, they've got like this kind of almost like electronic sound to it. There's like, they use a lot of pyrotechnics. They use like fog and smoke, and like they do things like around, and it like actually does engross you in it. And even too, like, and I think this was one of the things that I was gonna kind of mention is like, one of my favorite things about theater is when it is actually done correctly. There are some places that kind of don't do that, in my opinion. And kind of what I mean by that, when somebody does theater incorrectly, it's just like, here's a thing, enjoy it. But when somebody does it like with a passion, and it's like very well thought out, and like they've thought about like what the scenes are gonna look like and how people should feel, and, you know, like caring about all that stuff, like some of the things will really stick with you. And so one of mine was for when I was a little kid and I went to go see Phantom of the Opera. The set design of this Phantom of the Opera was just, it was crazy. It was like the first time I had really ever seen something and been just like, my jaw dropped, like, at every scene. Like, I remember when they were doing some of the boat scenes, they would have smoke. And the way they would have the smoke, it would literally look like the boat was on water on the stage. And that was incredible. Or even some of the ways they, like, would move the scenes around was really good. And the one that got me the most, which I have always talked about, is, so there's this big thing in Phantom of the Opera where at one point he dresses up as a character that's called the Red Death. It's, like, supposed to be a big fuck you thing, because, like, it's not it's not a nice thing that he does that. It's basically, like, Red Death essentially means, like, you're gonna die, and, like, it's, like, a big whatever deal. And so the one that I watched when I was a kid, he had, like, it was, like, almost like all this puppet stuff on him. So when he was talking, he had, like, this skeleton. I don't know if it was, like, on his chest or where it was, but, like, the skeleton would, like, actually move and, like, speak, and it was just awesome. It looked so good. For me personally, that's more what I look for in theater. It's not just, yeah, let me go see a musical. It's, no, like, I want to see somebody tell me a story that they're passionate about, that they obviously put a lot of time into, and, like, they're trying to make me think about it. That's what I like.
See, we have opposite interests. I don't give a shit about anything but the music. That is all I want. So that's why, to me, when I watch them, the movies or the plays, they seem so long to me. I'm just like, I don't care about any of this. Like, does the plot really matter? No. Like, you could tell the plot in 5 minutes. Like, this doesn't matter. And so it always happens. The first time I watch it, I hate it. It doesn't matter what it is. I hate it the first time I watch it. But then a song will get stuck in my head. And then I'll download the soundtrack. And then I love it. And I'll tell everybody, like, about this soundtrack. So it's kind of the complete opposite, which is hilarious to me.
I mean,
predictable, but hilarious. Because I never think about it. I think I love musicals, and then every time I watch one without fail, I fucking hate it. Like, I just can't. I'm like, why does anyone watch this? I can't stand this.
Yeah, I will say that is kind of one of my things about musicals, is I don't really understand the stigma of them being as long as they are. Because I will say, musicals tend to be about 3 hours long. If you're gonna go see a real one, yeah, if you go see, like, some high school play, it probably will be shorter. I would say it probably closer to 2 hours. But, like, Broadway type musicals, they're pretty much always 3 hours, if not 4 hours long. I really don't get it. It is one of the wildest things. I get that some people really like musicals and, like, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's too long. You don't have to. There's very few exceptions to this rule to me. I can't really honestly think of, like, something I saw that was, like, 3 or 4 hours long where I was like, nah, you could have cut something. This was a bit much.
Well, I think it's like, what is it called? It's called Rent in the movie, but isn't it called,
No, Rent is a musical.
Oh, I thought it was based on...
So, yeah, so it is.
Carmen.
It's, La Boheme.
La Boheme.
It was like an older, I mean, like 1800s or something.
Ah, okay.
Musical.
Like, that one is way too long, I would say.
Rent or La Boheme?
Both? Since they're somewhat interchangeable.
Okay. I mean, I've never seen La Boheme, so I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like they do 5 core songs and then repeat, like, with life changes. And it's kind of like, cool, everyone's on drugs, seeking the artist's suffrage or whatever you want to call it. And then they talk about it some more. And then everyone's laugh is different, but the same. And then they complain about it. And, like, it's just, I think it's because everyone's complaining. Like, almost every song is either a song about love or a song complaining about something.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, it just seems so unnecessarily long.
Well, I already told you I don't like Rent anymore.
No.
It's there was like this thing.
Point.
Yeah, there was this thing I watched a while ago that was like basically because for anybody who doesn't know, like Rent is essentially about artists who live in New York City. I want to say it's like the 80s. This is the time period, and the whole thing is it's big into art is
suffering.
Yeah,
suffering
art
for your
is
art.
Suffering. That's like the big thing about it. And like I think when I was younger, I was fine with it. Like I still don't really like agree with that, but like I get the mentality. But like there's so many things in Rent that just bother me. Like, there's these scenes where you can see, like, people, like, clearly care about them, like, their parents or whatever, are being like, hey, you know, like, are you okay? Like, you haven't talked to me in, like, a really long time, and, like, all this kind of stuff. And I mean, you know, whatever, like, do what you want to do, live your life. But, like, it's like, they sit there and they're, like, complaining, like, you know, they don't have money and, you know, like, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you're, like, also, like, kind of shutting everybody out to live this life. And, like, yeah, I don't know. There's parts of this that I don't think it's right.
I think it's also, there's only one likable character, and that character dies. So you're just like, what am I here for?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
But, I mean, it has some good music. That's generally the thing that I give to Rent. But yeah, it's not a big one. I will, just to kind of go back on a different topic, because I did have some of, like, these other things that I really liked in theater. I know that you didn't see The Lion King, but I saw The Lion King, gosh, just before COVID. Weird to think about that. It was literally like the month before COVID happened. And there was this one scene that really stuck out with me because I don't know, like, apparently if you do a puppet correctly, apparently I like that.
Puppets
I don't know.
done correctly will mind blow.
Yeah. Because there were that's kind of the thing about The Lion King, that they do a lot of, like, very visual stuff. And one of them, although I guess this wasn't puppet related, was they had, like, essentially it was the part in, you know, think of the Disney movie, the part where it's, like, transitioning from Mufasa's reign to Scar's reign, and they're, like, showing everything, like, dying. Like, it's, like, going into that whole thing. And so they had this lake, like, draining, and the way that they did it, it was just, like, so, like, I can still think about that lake and, like, that picture of that, you know, the whole transition of everything just kind of dying and, like, you know, showing, like, oh, Scar fucked this shit up, it was beautiful, and now it's not, and yeah, that kind of stuff. I do really like that, and I mean, I've mentioned that before. I am a very visual person. If you give me something that's good and visual, it probably sticks in my head for a very long time.
I think I only have one more story, and then we have story time. Fun enough. Is titles are misleading for musicals sometimes, or for plays. I'll say plays or musicals. And specifically, we had a friend that I think is the reason why I did theater, honestly. And she had her mother, like, take her to college shows all the time. And she wanted to bring a friend, and I happened to be the friend. And she told me, like, yeah, it's Urinetown. And my mom was like, where are you going? I was like, going to a play. Well, what's it called? Is it appropriate? I said, well, it's Urinetown. And she went, okay, what's it about? I said, I don't know. Why would I know what it's about? I'm in middle school. And so she said, yeah, I guess it's okay if it's just Urinetown. I said, yeah, I'm sure it's a really corny musical about people in town talking about whatever. It's urine as in P, like with a U, town, not you're in town. And it's literally a musical about, like, bathrooms being restricted to the public because they have to pay for it, and everybody's poor because there's a water shortage. And that the plot of it, which the narrator explicitly tells you is a secret but says it, like, right away, is Urinetown. If they take someone to Urinetown, they kill them. Like, it's this big mob boss type thing. And so, like, that was my first musical or, like, play that I saw in person was Urinetown. Which is a pretty ridiculous play.
You liked it, though, right?
In retrospect, not as much. But since it was, like, my first one, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, it had a little bit of everything, so it wasn't a bad first one. The music wasn't bad. The singer we had in particular was really good, especially for our college. But, like, there's a song called Don't Be the Bunny, and, like, just silly crap like that.
Yeah, I mean, plays especially, so, in my opinion, musicals are a bit safer, typically. There are, like, a couple I could say, you know, maybe they're not for everybody, but, like, I think they tend to be safer. Plays are hard. Like, unless you explicitly know what the plot is, I don't normally recommend them to people because a lot of times plays try very hard to be edgy. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. You know, we could, for example, talk about Equus. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about Equus, because to be honest, I read Equus, and I'm going to tell you, it's pretty fucking weird. Daniel Radcliffe rode naked on a horse and then stabbed his eyes out.
As you do.
Just to spoil the plot of Equus, it's a lot. I still don't really think I get Equus, and I'm not sure I want to be honest. I think, like, for me, there's really only ever been, like, one play that I've seen that I liked. It was at my college, and it was about Farnsworth. So it's called the Farnsworth Invention. It's about TV. That's who he was. I mean, I know some people think about, like, Futurama. That is actually who that character is named after. I forget what the character's, like, first name is. It's something, maybe like Frank or something, Farnsworth. But anyway, it's just the story of, like, how he came to invent TV. And then, it was, like, a pretty sad story, too, because essentially it got stolen from him. The radio corporation ended up coming, and I don't know if they just, like, bought the rights, and it was kind of like a weird time for inventions and stuff, so, like, they essentially bought it, and then, like, he couldn't do anything with it anymore. But yeah, it was, like, a pretty just interesting story, especially if, you know, you didn't know about it, and that one was good, but, like, pretty much all the other plays that I've ever seen, not really. I don't know. They're either, like, way too serious, or they'll end in a really weird way.
Or they're from the 50s.
Yeah.
Three genres.
I don't typically... I liked being in plays, but I think, like, part of the problem is I don't know if I've seen a comedy, actually. I liked being in comedies, but I don't know if I've seen, like, too many comedy. So maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to watch a comedic play and see how that goes. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, I did go see one. I saw one with my mom. I don't remember what that play was called, though, because I don't remember if it was, like, a popular one, but, like, it was basically about this old woman who, like, accidentally gets sent to, like, an insane asylum. And it was pretty funny, but then, like, also, like, it was very endearing, because it was, like, kind of one of these things where, like, she kind of starts to, like, be on the side of the people in the asylum and, like, learns about, like, all their struggles and all this kind of stuff. And it was just, yeah, that one was good, but I forgot about that one. Whatever that one was called. I don't even remember. To be honest, plays are weird. I don't remember some of the ones that I was in. I still talk about all the time about that one that was, like, the bishops and the priests and stuff. You remember that? I don't remember if you were involved in that, but there was this one where, like, essentially the plot was, at the end, there was, like, 4 priests. Like, it was, like, these weird miscommunications kept happening. Like, I think, like, there was basically, like, one guy was an actor, and he was pretending because he didn't want to... The main character was, like, married to a priest, and so, like, he didn't want to be, like, a guy with a priest's wife, so he, like, pretended to be her husband, like, so people wouldn't suspect stuff. And then there was the actual husband, and then there was, like, a murderer on the loose, and then there was also, like, some other guy, I think he was, like, a bishop or something. But anyway, like, basically the plot towards the end of it, there's just all these priests, and, like, nobody can figure out who anybody is. Anyway, that play was good. I couldn't tell you what the name of this play is.
All the good ones she doesn't remember.
That I was in. The only one I really remember is Don't Drink the Water.
I do remember that one.
Yeah, which, you know, is a Woody Allen, which...
Why we did that anyway?
Whatever, but that one was fine too. I don't know if I would, like, particularly go out of my way to ever see that again, but that was fine.
It's story time with Krista. Is that our story? I was gonna do something with, like, Reading Rainbow, but, like, with lyrics like Julie and Krista, oh so high, like doing something really corny with the Reading Rainbow melody.
Take a look. It's on this podcast.
Julie and Krista. Yeah. I wanted to do something.
Okay. So, for my story time, I guess I decided that I finally am going to tell this story. And the story time might even involve a field trip. Although, if it does involve a field trip, I guess you guys won't be coming with us, because I don't know how we would do that. But, I decided I'm going to talk about the frog. Part 2. part again, but different frog. It's not the same frog. The frog strikes again.
I think I know what you're supposed to say.
I think you do, because I think I never...
You texted me.
I never told you the end of this story. Okay. So, I got very freaked out, starting about a year ago, I guess. So, I have a couple gardens at my house, and there's this one garden, my side garden, has a bunch of issues. I've still not really entirely managed to fix it. Honestly, I think I need to take out all the dirt and put all the dirt back in, but that is a completely different story. The thing is, I had dug in this garden a couple times and got pretty freaked out because when I would dig, the first time, I found like essentially this frog just in the garden, and I was very confused. I didn't understand, and I think the first time I was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna ignore that and then move on. So then next year rolls around, I'm like, God, fuck this garden. I need to fucking do something. So I started digging again, found this frog again, and I ended up texting Julie about it because I was just like, I don't understand. There's like this frog here. He seems like he's like petrified or something. I'm not sure like if it's like, is it a live frog? Like, is this a thing that happens? I think I even ended up looking it up on the internet, just being like, do like frogs hibernate in a weird way? And I'm like not aware of it or what is happening here. It turns out some frogs do that. But then I also ended up texting Julie about it, and she was like, what are you talking about? Like, what is this? And I sent her a picture, and she was like, I'm not sure what that is. I don't think that is a real frog. I think that might be a toy. And then looking at it with closer inspection, it is still in my garden. That was why I was saying, you know, this could involve a field trip if we wanted it to. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a toy. So I got very freaked out by this frog.
Yeah, it was about the funniest thing because she's like, I know, do they hibernate? What's this thing? I'm like, not in this area. What are you talking about? And then it's just this picture of this big frog with like the exact digits and everything covered in dirt. I'm like, pretty sure that's a toy. That just looks like a dirty old toy. I don't know. Pick it up. I was like, why didn't you just pick it up?
Because when it was first happening, I thought it was alive. Like, I thought it was like a real frog. Either that, or like the way at first the dirt was on it, I thought it was a dead frog at least. And I was like, well, I just didn't know the answer was the problem. I was like, well, if it's a live frog, should I bury it back up or like what? And then, yeah.
I just pick them up. Like, what are you? So it's even funnier, like, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to touch it. Like, what? Just pick it up.
If it was a live frog, I wanted to put it back.
And then you could have. There aren't any poisonous frogs here, and none of them hibernate.
Well, that was what I did the first year. I put it back, and then it happened to me again. Probably the exact same frog. I mean, I'm sure it was. I don't know why I said probably. But it happened again, and I was like, okay, like, should I do something about this? I don't get what is happening here. Is this just like a frog burial ground? Is this some kind of frog hibernation spot? Why do I keep having this issue?
It was just funny. I'm like, it's a toy. Why are you bothering me? Because you just seemed so freaked out. It was cracking me up.
I have frog problems.
Apparently. So we need to end this off. We're going to end this off on giving you specific, we kind of have already, but we're going to give you more specific musicals or plays, probably more musicals as we've already mentioned, to kind of get you started. I'll kind of start off since Krista had story time. Mine are all more movies to make it easier for you. I think Krista's going to be the one who does more like plays and, or not plays, live. So there's pretty much a musical for anybody, like any type of music you like, or any type of plot line. There's probably a musical out there. I'm not saying I know every single one, but say for instance you only like heavy metal or power metal, you're just like, ugh, I can't stand the corny singing and the stupidness of it all. Repo, the genetic opera, is what you've been looking for. That is a murder musical power opera. Like, it is the closest they have to a corny song is they have a song that kind of like tributes to Pat Benatar. And in the middle of this girl singing it, her dad smacks the shit out of her. So she stops. Like, that is the closest they have to like a corny song, is it gets interrupted with the shut the fuck up. Like, they slap her. And it's great. Also, Paris Hilton's in it and her face falls off. So that's really great. And it's a very gory, there's a character that literally stabs her eyes out in it. Like, it's a great musical for a non-typical musical.
I do love all of your descriptions of
Well, that's for the people that say like musicals aren't for me. I like hardcore shit. what's more hardcore than an opera singer singing in German while stabbing herself in the eyes? Come on. And then she gets impaled on a spike. So, I mean...
It is pretty intense, although
pretty
this
metal.
is a musical, right?
This is a musical.
Well, wait a minute. This is a movie musical.
Yes.
Only. They never did...
That's really complicated. There's... Because there's also another not musical movie based on the same world as this called Repo Man with Jude Law. I looked into it because I'm like, what came first? What happened? And essentially, this musical also gives you background through comic books. So they sing a song and play out this comic book strip to tell you the background that's relevant but not in the movie. So this started out as like a one-act play that then was turned into a comic that then was turned into a musical that was then turned into 2 different movies. Yeah, it's a lot.
That is a lot. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I recommend Repo, the Genetic Opera, if you like hardcore shit. If you're wanting something funnier, one of my favorites is probably The Producers. I like both versions for different reasons. There's a newer one with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane. There's an old one with Gene Wilder. Like I said, I like both of them for different reasons, but if you've never seen either, I would say watch the newer one. If I have a bad day, there's just stupid scenes in this I will always want to watch. Mm-hmm. Like, the plot of it is the dumbest thing. It has really corny, hilarious songs. Everyone's overacting and being really ridiculous. It's a very funny...
Yeah, that one is a very like musical type of musical, but like in a way where it's making fun of itself. It's like kind of all of the... Like, I mean, honestly, Chicago's kind of like this too. I mean, I know you don't like Chicago, and that's like in a different kind of way, but like it's so over the top that it's like making fun of itself. That is like the whole... There's like so many scenes where it's like, oh yeah, here come all the flapper people for like some reason, and like they'll acknowledge them and they're like, oh yeah, and like it's just so goofy. It's the strangest... I do really like The Producers. I would love to go see The Producers sometime. I've never actually seen that on stage, so...
Yeah, I would love to see that one too. So that's one if you just want to watch something stupid and funny that is intentionally stupid and funny. Like, you're not gonna try to take it seriously in any regard.
Oh, well, actually, another one kind of on that level that I was gonna recommend, which I'll recommend it now just because you're talking about it kind of, is Spamalot. Which, I don't know, do you know what Spamalot is? Okay.
Camelot, but...
No. It's,
no? What am I thinking of then?
It is Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but the musical.
Yeah. So
legitimately. And it's pretty good, actually. So, like, one of the things I was going to recommend is that, like, I always suggest the classics and the darlings. So you'll hear about this pretty often, that there is a musical that is, like, the musical currently. That is Hamilton. I'm sure you've heard about it. Everybody and their brother and everybody who's ever existed talks about Hamilton. It's been the darling for like about 4 years or more. At one point, Spamalot was actually the darling. Like, it was like winning a bunch of Tonys and like all this kind of stuff. Wicked was one at the time.
I do remember the Wicked phase.
Yeah, I think, The Lion King actually was one at one point. That was quite a while ago. But yeah, I always do recommend those because here's the thing about the darlings. They're normally really well made. Like, you could go see some of these off-Broadway ones. You could go see some of the ones that are less popular. Doesn't mean the production value is going to be good. It might be. You never know. But sometimes it's not. That's the risk that you take. Yeah. But you go see things like Phantom of the Opera, you go see Hamilton or whatever, like, they're probably going to be really high quality. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. So I'd say my last kind of recommendation that's separate from all the stuff we've already said is if the reason why you don't like musicals or plays because you can't relate or you can't understand, they're at a different time period, whatever reason that you just can't get into it. You're just like, I don't care about the 50s. That's a lot of musicals. I would recommend a musical that's not out in movies yet, but it's going to be, I think, actually this month, so it might be by the time this comes out, is Dear Evan Hansen. I started listening to the music before I even knew what the play was, which is really funny because I did not understand at all when I started listening to it, what it was. So this is a modern musical. It's very popular right now. And like I said, it's going to be coming out as a movie. So I don't know how the movie will be.
I think it was actually, too. I think it was one of the darlings.
Yeah, I think it was for a while. And the plot of it is, it's based in high school. but it's still relatable. And basically, very like first scene, a kid commits suicide and has a suicide note. And based on that, they think his only friend was Evan Hansen, because they had an email going back and forth, which was technically a therapy thing that Evan did. It wasn't real. But because of this, everyone starts reaching out to Evan about who Connor, the guy who commits suicide, who he was, what is his life, and people coming together and communicating about hard things like emotional trauma, about living life, everything like that. And it kind of delves into this big drama about that kind of thing. And so it has a message that is current today. The songs, the music is very good. They have, like, typical musical, they have one corny, stupid, silly song, of course, but I actually like it, which is rare for me. I usually hate that song. I usually think it ruins the in-between. But that would be my modern one, and I forgot one that Krista's probably going to talk about. So, and I said one more recommendation, but I lied. One last one, because it's one Krista can take off, and that would be, I recommend Moulin Rouge. I've not met anyone who has not liked that liked music. And that's probably because Moulin Rouge takes pop songs and redoes them in a way that is musical friendly. So they take like songs by Queen, by The Police, that like oldies pop, not current pop, and put it in this musical format. And there's even songs, there's a song by Elton John that when I listen to the original makes no fucking sense to me. But when I see it in the musical, it's like they make sense of these ridiculous lyrics he came up with.
Yeah.
So, and the set design, everything that Krista really likes, this movie really has that going on. And it has Ewan McGregor in it and Nicole Kidman, which, how could you not love those people? So that would probably be an overhanging musical that I'd recommend to almost anybody. Because like I said, I've not met anyone who would like a musical that didn't like that.
Yeah, and that's called a rock opera, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Rock operas are where they take real stuff and they make it, like, into a musical. Like, I think there was a recent
Across
one.
the Universe is one.
Yeah, although Across the Universe is weird because that's only Beatles
That's
songs.
only Beatles, yeah.
But then there was, like, Rock of Ages, which I didn't see that one, but, like, that was one because they took a bunch of, like, rock star music and made a plot, which, again, I didn't watch this one, so I don't know what this is. But that is a rock opera. Another one I kind of wanted to recommend, going off your Dear Evan Hansen thing, is Waitress. Because actually, so Waitress is a lot kind of like what you were saying with Dear Evan Hansen. Because, like, essentially the plot of Waitress is, it's like a waitress. She is in a abusive relationship. I haven't seen this one. I would like to go see this one. But the abuse isn't like he's not like hitting her. I think it's more like emotional, really bad emotional abuse. And she finds out that she's pregnant. And it's like this whole thing of like her basically like having an affair with somebody, like also trying to get out of this abusive relationship and like trying to like figure out what she should do and like coming to a place of being happy. Like that is essentially the plot. But like I've heard a few of the songs, and there are a few of these songs you could go look up on YouTube. I think like one of the big ones is like called like You Matter to Me. And it's kind of like what you were saying with Dear Evan Hansen. Like it's just this big thing of like going through like grief and like all these really complicated emotions and then coming to something that basically resembles happiness. And it is like a more modern plot. Like I would say it's probably like 2010s is probably when this musical came out. So if you like things that are more modern, that's probably one that I would recommend, even though I haven't seen it. And then, so another one, getting just kind of on the funny train, is The Book of Mormon, which again is another one I want to see. I have not seen this one. So kind of like, I know that this probably sounds really strange. We haven't like really mentioned this, but like where we live, it's not necessarily the easiest to always see these things. Like you could go out of your way, you could do it. There is a place that you could. One, it's kind of expensive. Two, like you don't always
exhausted when you get back. Like it'd be a full day, especially since it's not like they play musicals at 2 p.m. It's almost always 7 or 8, and so we'd get home at like midnight or later.
Well, the other thing is too is that like I don't always know that they're happening. Like, sometimes I do, and then sometimes I don't. Like, for example, like, I went and saw Wicked a couple years ago. That was the first time I ever saw it. And it would be here, but it was, because it was a darling, so, like, Hamilton. I've not actually seen Hamilton. on stage either. I've only seen like the Disney one that probably everybody's seen at this point. But the thing with the Darlings is sometimes they're very expensive, and Wicked was like that for a long time. Like, it was like, yeah, you're gonna pay like $500 if you want to go see this. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that.
I did find out something about that is you become part of a program, at least in our area. I'm sure other areas do it. And they will give, like, if you spend, I think the ticket costs $1,000 maybe. Let's say it costs $1,000. For the whole year, they give you tickets. And so what ends up happening is those big musicals, like Hamilton, they're under a contract. They're not allowed to sell their tickets, specifically because it's an A-lister. And so then half the seats are already taken. So that's part of our problem is, like, any of these musicals that are popular or would have the cast that we'd enjoy seeing, they're half sold before they even go to, like, where we can access them. And then it doesn't feel like it's worth it because we're not in a place... Like, our city is a medium place, I would say. Like, it's not super low on the list, but it's not a city you think of when you think of the United States. So, since we're in this medium place, we rarely get actors and stuff that we'd want to spend that money to go see. We'd just be like, I'm sure it's fine, but it's not worth $500 to $800 to watch this musical with those people in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's for me, it's more like if the price is right, if there's somebody I want to go see it with, that's typically what I'll do. Like, I think the last couple times Hamilton has been here, I'll maybe look at the tickets and it's like $500, like I said, and I'm like, nah. If it was maybe like $100, maybe, but $500, I'm not gonna, because like the other thing is too, is like I'm not gonna go by myself. So what, am I gonna go spend $1,000 to go see this? Nah. It's not gonna happen. I'll just rewatch the Disney one. Or, actually, this was a thing I had in my suggestions. So, like, one of the things you can do, too, something like Hamilton, like, if you've not experienced Hamilton and you just, like, want to know what it's all about, you can listen to it on Spotify. And so, pretty much any of the musicals that are opera-esque, so you could probably do the same thing with Phantom of the Opera, I'm sure. Just listen to them on Spotify. Like, you'll get the plot entirely. Like, Hamilton, if you listen to it on Spotify, like, you'll totally know what it's about.
Dear Evan Hansen's the same way.
Yeah.
You listen to it. The other thing is you have to listen to it in order. So that was my mistake with Dear Evan Hansen. The first time I listened to it out of order and had no idea what was going on. Because when I listen to a musical the first time, I tend to just pick the most popular song and then decide if I want to continue with it or not. So I picked that Silly Song was their most popular song. And I totally, because the whole point of the song is to be radical and say things that aren't true to be silly. And so I read that, I thought they were true. Didn't know what was going on. So, and if anybody's wondering, like, that you've heard of Dear Evan Hansen, it's sincerely me. I listened to that as if that was true, and it was, now, in retrospect, it's the funniest thing ever. But,
yeah. But the thing is, too, you do kind of have to make sure with some of these that they kind of are more opera-esque, because, like, for example, like Wicked.
Or Moulin Rouge would be the same way.
Yeah, you could listen to Wicked. You're not really going to get much of the story. Because Wicked is one of these musicals where there's story that happens in between the songs. Whereas, like, in opera, they're basically singing the entire time, like, with very minimal breaks or no breaks. It depends on the type.
Yeah, a lot of them will have the dialogue in the beginning of the song even. Phantom of the Opera does that. So they'll have two characters just talking, and then the song will start, and then they'll talk in the middle of the song, and then the song will start back up. So that happens a lot too. So something like Hamilton, something probably like Phantom of the Opera. I can't really think of any of the other ones being like this. But yeah, I would recommend that. Just look at stuff on Spotify. Listen to a few of them, and then see. And then, you know what? If somebody invites you, if one of your nerd friends is like, hey, I want to go see a musical. If they tell you Cats.
Memory all alone in the moonlight.
Stop.
Julie says no.
Don't do it.
No, Cats, oh. Okay, maybe this is just where we should end. Just to
End with Cats? It's a horrible decision.
Well, because I don't know about, the rest of these. Oh, I guess I didn't even really talk about the Book of Mormon, but whatever, we're talking about Cats. Go see the Book of Mormon, but Cats.
Cats. Don't see Cats.
Okay, look, here's the thing. I think everybody, well, not everybody, but a good amount of people probably had this experience where, like, people try to get you to go see Cats. Cats is a very particular type of musical. It's very bizarre, very nonsensical. It's very 70s, I think is like around the time it came out. That musical is not for everybody.
It's for nobody.
There
It's
are
for
a
the
group-
performers. It's
Yeah.
not for the audience.
There's a group that like it, and that's cool and good for them. But I'm gonna tell you, if you've seen Cats and this was your one experience with musicals and you hated it,
Just erase it from your memory, man.
there are other
Memories.
things. Yes, let's talk about the Book of Mormon, which
Well-
is great.
Quick pause. The only reason why anyone watches Cats that doesn't know what it's about is because it's done by the same composer as Phantom of the Opera. Sondheim. So you think, Phantom of the Opera is amazing, you've heard us talk about it. He did Cats, let's watch Cats. Why did you do this? Like, why was this the thing you did? You did something so amazing as Phantom of the Opera, and then there's this thing. And from what I understand, it's very much for the performer. I'm sure as a performer, it's a lot of fun to do. As an audience, it's not for you. Like, it's not designed for the audience in any capacity. I don't remember what show it is that literally makes fun of Cats because it says that anyone who's in Cats just walked up on stage and decided to be in Cats, and that's how all the actors end up there. Because someone in the audience goes, anyone could do this. I don't understand why I'm paying for this. And they walk up like, I'll be a cat, and then they just end up part of the play. And that's the whole plot of Cats.
I do remember that. Gosh, I
don't remember what show that is. But that's what they're like. That's how this happened. That's how Cats became a thing, is because people just walk up on stage and they become part of the musical and it never ends.
It just, like, look, I think, like I said, I think it's from, like, the 70s. It's got that, you know,
Vibe.
like, how the 70s, like, some of the things, it's like, it's so much. And it's just, it's so much to the extreme. And my thing is here, if you have been tricked into watching Cats and you feel like you need to file a lawsuit and just, you know, give up on musicals altogether, you know, maybe try Book of Mormon. Okay?
That's our ending phase here. If you were dragged into a Cat show and you're scarred for life, try Book of Mormon instead.
Just try it before you give up altogether.
If you don't like both of them, fair enough.
Then you probably don't like music.
You probably tap out and you're forward.
This was Passion for Your Passions with Krista.
And Julie, where we talked about the theater.
On the next episode, we're talking about Nicholas Kim Coppola, professionally known as Nick Cage.
Cage Rage! I'm so excited.
All of the bottom is just boba.
Welcome to my world.
That's gonna be beautiful.